All right, well, this just popped up today on CNN. Oxycontin maker to plead guilty to federal criminal charges, pay $8 billion, and will close the company. So let's talk about that real quick. So Purdue Pharma, maker of Oxycontin, agreed to plead guilty to 3 federal charges for his role in creating national opioid crisis and will pay more than $8 billion and close down the company. So they go on and talk about, what they're going to do with the money and all this other good stuff. Basically, they have to shut down the company because of this horrendous opioid problem that essentially they cause. And I want to talk about this. All right, I want to talk about this because not just the news what happened, but I think it's a really good lesson for everybody in healthcare, all medical professionals. So let's talk about that real quick. So basically, abuse of prescription painkillers is a major cause of the national opioid crisis. You guys probably know that if you're in medicine. According to this CDC, 450 people died in the United States in 10 years, starting from 99 to 2009, including opioid prescription and illicit opioids. So if you know anything about the opioid crisis, basically what really kind of happened is in the 90s, this pharmaceutical company started promoting Oxycontin as a better painkiller because it was only, you only get it twice a day instead of like Oxycontin, which is like 4 to 6 times a day, depending on the dose. And they went out and actively, sought out higher prescribing physicians like for opioids, and they went to them and said, hey, this is a great new drug. There was nothing really better about the drug except that you could give it twice a day instead of 4 times a day. They also used kind of bad articles and publications to say that the addiction of Oxycontin was less than 1%, which is, it actually is closer to like 40 to 50% of patients who use it. Now they kind of distinguished this. They had basically cancer patients, and a lot of the opioids was being used for cancer patients at the time. And so they were saying this is great for cancer patients, but then the company realized that there was a bigger market for non-cancer patients, for chronic pain patients. And when I say air quotes, because they were trying to essentially, target people that weren't necessarily chronic pain, like back pain and things like that, but just pain in general, and saying, hey, this is a great alternative. And so they essentially got these people addicted, and we have this massive opioid crisis right now. And what I was going to do is take a look at the cost. So this is the National Institute on Drug Abuse, cost of substance abuse, alcohol, tobacco, all this stuff. But if we go down here to prescription, first of all, look at this. Illicit drugs, healthcare costs, $11 billion. Okay, overall, $193 billion, and the overall prescription opioids is $78 billion. So they're huge, obviously, and these are different time frames and stuff, but $26 billion annually, by the way, this is annual, costs the healthcare system $26 billion. Overall, $78 billion. I think this is probably lowballing the estimation. Oh crap, I totally forgot to flip over, sorry. So here's real quick, National Institute of Drug Abuse, prescription opioids, $26 billion, healthcare annually, $78.5 billion. And that's based on 2013. So I think this is probably lowballing the problem because the ripple effect of opioid addiction is like incomprehensible to the human brain, I think, because just me being in medicine and seeing patients come in and different types of opioid addiction, You know, you have your 75-year-old grandma who's been taking Oxycontin for, you know, 15 years, and the family's like, hey, make sure she gets this or she's really, really angry. I'm like, do you mean she's like addicted? And they have to like basically, you know, have their family take care of her addiction so that way grandma doesn't get cranky and do something crazy. Okay, that's just like one slice of the pie. Of course, you have the patients who get addicted, they move on to heroin, other drugs, then they, you know, are ousted from their family. They go on the streets, or they, you know, have other problems like crime and blah, blah, blah. So those are the other ones. The other ones are like, you know, basically people in their 40s or 50s who are on chronic narcotics and addicted and can't really function as well. And so now they can't take care of their family. Insanity. Anyway, so this is not really what I wanted to talk about. Although I did want to say real quick that what they did was Purdue Pharmaceuticals, what they did was essentially say, like I said, push out to the medical community. They found the physicians who were prescribing, and then they hammered them with all this literature and said, hey, this is going to be better for your patients, and essentially lied to them. Here is one of the papers that they kind of used: chronic use of opioid analgesics in non-malignant pain, a report of 38 cases. So they kind of pushed this out and said, oh, nobody's really addicted. It's really great for your patients. It's gonna be awesome. So first of all, they got fined $8 billion. They made probably over $35 billion. The family that owns the company actually extracted a bunch of money before they got fined. It's taken 20 years basically for them to really finally plead guilty and be fined for this. You know, what happens if you're like a 17-year-old kid and you steal a 6-pack of Coca-Cola from a gas station? Like, you get arrested, you know, and then you get put in like juvie hall or whatever, and it's a, you know, like, this could change your life. This kind of stuff is insanity. $8 billion, they made $35 billion. The family takes a couple billion on the side and says, okay, fine, we'll pay everything, and then we'll close the company. They can't even make money selling anything else. This was their prime, like Oxycontin, oxycodone, hydrocodone, all those things were the prime things that they made money from. Crazy. So, but I think the major point I wanted to make in this video is that if you're a medical professional, don't listen to these pharma companies. Don't listen to these reps. Like, I get reps all the time trying to come and talk to me about stuff, and they are trying to make an honest living. I'm not blaming the rep, although, you know, after a while in the industry, you should probably realize, holy, you know, like, I'm pushing this stuff that may or may not be good for the patient, or may or may not help the patient, or, you know, most likely maybe just making the company money and all that stuff. So you get all this stuff, and constantly as a physician and medical professionals, you're going to get these things, and you just have to really pay attention to what they're telling you, what they're saying, where the articles are coming from, who's published these articles, who's funded the articles, and which doctors are doing the research on the articles, and how much money they're getting from the pharmaceutical companies. So I think it's just like, I just want to briefly talk about it and say, okay, yeah, it's terrible, but let's learn from that. Going into the opioid crisis is a whole different deal, so we won't do that today. But anyway, thank you guys for watching these videos once again. Trying to make these 5 days a week, so around noontime Eastern time, every day, 5 days a week. Well, not every day, Saturday, Sunday, take a break. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you like these. Give me a thumbs up if you like them, a thumbs down if you don't like them, and share them if you like them. Really a lot, so that would be awesome. help me with the channel. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. Talk to you next one.